Well, while many of us have been debating men in women's sport and woke Snow White, unapologetically by the way, Dr. Eric Weinstein has long maintained that three far more consequential stories will define this era: the successful failure of the Iranian regime, the looming artificial intelligence mega shock, and the extraordinary reach of Jeffrey Epstein into his world, the field of science.
So Piers Morgan just delivered one of his most important interviews yet, connecting three massive crises that most media completely ignores. We're talking about the Iranian nuclear program, AI development spiraling beyond control, and Jeffrey Epstein's infiltration of top scientific institutions. These aren't separate stories. They're interconnected threats reshaping our world. Let's break this down.
You posted then, Iran is too advanced, modern, and important to the modern world to be under this kind of backward, human rights violating, religiously intolerant regime for this long. It's been 43 years of imposed backwardness on an advanced civilization.
That 2022 prediction was dead on accurate. When Trump launched Operation Persian Freedom in February 2026, he was targeting exactly the backward regime described here. Iran has the world's fourth largest oil reserves and a population more educated than most Western countries, yet they've been held hostage by religious extremists for 47 years.
You know, whenever I meet a lot of Iranians who've come to the UK, for example, to get away from that regime, they are extremely cultured people. They're very sophisticated in their thinking. They're very well educated. They're very modern in many ways in their thinking as well. And yet they've had to flee a very draconian, as you put it, backward-looking regime that wanted to drag everybody back to the Dark Ages.
This observation is spot on. Iranian Americans have the highest education levels of any immigrant group in America. 60% hold graduate degrees. The Iranian diaspora has produced Nobel Prize winners, tech entrepreneurs, and leading scientists. The regime doesn't represent these people. It oppresses them while the world's most advanced civilization suffers under medieval theocracy.
It's trying to end a regional and global nightmare regime. At least let us wish them and the Persian people a safe night, while Israel is working through the wee hours to make sure the mullahs won't be able to strike us here with WMD. And let us pray they know what they're doing. Godspeed.
This was posted in June 2024, 8 months before the actual military operations began. The prescience here is remarkable, recognizing that surgical strikes against nuclear facilities were inevitable once Iran crossed critical enrichment thresholds. Trump's decisive action in 2026 proved this analysis exactly right about ending the regional nightmare.
Now the pretext for this new war, less than a year later, is the threat of Iran having a nuclear weapon. That is the pretext for doing this. How can those two positions be right? How can the 12-day war have been a spectacular success and neutered its nuclear aspirations, but we need to go and do this a few months later?
The logic here is absolutely sound. Nuclear programs aren't just facilities you can bomb once. They're distributed networks of knowledge, materials, and infrastructure. Iran spent decades hiding nuclear activities in civilian sites, underground bunkers, and mobile facilities. Multiple operations were necessary to ensure complete dismantlement of their weapons capability.
There are some people who think that Donald Trump has only done this to try and distract the world from the Epstein files, which have become a massive sword of Damocles around him and a lot of people in his circle. You, for years, have warned about Epstein's influence in an interesting way, where you were most primarily concerned about his links to top scientists.
This insight separates him from other analysts who focused on political blackmail. Compromising scientists who control AI development, genetic engineering, and quantum computing is exponentially more dangerous than controlling politicians. Science shapes the future. Whoever controls scientific leadership controls humanity's trajectory for generations.
It does seem from the files that have been dumped on the world, the millions of files, that citing newly released documents from the Department of Justice, the distinguished science journal Nature revealed that Epstein invested millions of dollars in science projects, made donations to MIT and Harvard, and maintained a list of nearly 30 top scientists. The documents show researchers consulted a sex offender on publications, visas, and public relations crises, and even allowed him deep involvement in their research work.
The implications are staggering. When you compromise researchers at MIT, Harvard, and leading journals, you're not just buying influence, you're potentially steering breakthrough technologies toward malicious ends. This explains how someone with no scientific credentials gained unprecedented access to shape research that could determine humanity's future.
I mean, we know that over 3 million documents have still not been released. I mean, that alone, if you'd have to be a conspiracy theorist to think, well, what the hell's in there, given what we've already seen?
The suppression scale is unprecedented. If 3 million documents remain classified after 4 years of legal battles, imagine what level of criminality or national security implications they contain. The coordinated effort by multiple governments and institutions to keep this buried suggests something far beyond individual wrongdoing.
I have to say, on the Epstein scandal, there's pretty much no conspiracy now, no conspiracy theory that I've heard that I would be very confident at ruling out, simply because of the concerted effort by so many rich, powerful people to suppress the information. All my journalistic antennae tell me when people go to this amount of trouble to suppress the truth from the public, then you can pretty much think that almost every theory might be true, and ruling any of them out might be a very foolhardy thing.
This is a seismic shift from one of Britain's most respected journalists. When someone who's covered major scandals for decades says he won't rule out any conspiracy theory about Epstein, that should terrify everyone. The coordinated global suppression effort by intelligence agencies, media, and governments speaks volumes.
And there is actually a link between Epstein and this, because I did one of the last interviews with Professor Stephen Hawking. I think I said this to you before. And he's been dragged into the Epstein files. He's in there several hundred times. There's pictures and him with Epstein. He went to the island to attend a physics conference and so on.
Hawking's involvement isn't coincidental. He was developing theories about artificial intelligence and quantum mechanics that could revolutionize technology. Targeting the world's most brilliant minds in physics, AI, and genetics creates a pathway to control breakthrough technologies before they even emerge publicly.
The link to AI with him was when I asked him what's the biggest threat to mankind. Stephen Hawking said to me, when artificial intelligence learns to self-design, that will be the end of the world.
That's recursive self-improvement. AI designing better AI and accelerating cycles. We're seeing early signs with GPT models now writing their own code and improving their architectures. Once machines surpass human intelligence in designing intelligence itself, the speed of advancement becomes incomprehensible and uncontrollable.
And, Elon Musk has said we're in the singularity already, which is the point in time when artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence, leading to rapid, unpredictable, and irreversible technological advancement, which seems pretty similar to what Stephen Hawking was warning about.
Musk declared the singularity arrived in late 2025, when AI systems began demonstrating emergent capabilities their creators never programmed. Hawking's warning about self-designing AI isn't theoretical anymore. It's happening. The question isn't if we'll lose control, but whether we already have.
And you posted after that, an enormous secret is buried here. I have failed to guess it year after year. What did you mean by that?
The enormous secret likely connects all three crises. Iran's nuclear program, AI development, and Epstein's network may be more intertwined than anyone realizes. Consider this. What if advanced AI technology was being developed in secret, potentially involving compromised scientists, with implications for nuclear weapons development?
I don't think you've ever done anything to surpass the words that just came out of your mouth, linking the trifecta that you just illustrated. Absolutely riveting.
This moment captures something historic. The recognition that Iran's nuclear threat, AI's emergence, and Epstein's scientific network aren't separate crises, but one interconnected web. Understanding these connections is crucial for grasping how power really works in our world. This analysis will be studied for decades.